first time to be chairman, as my vice chairman has been promoted as the president pro tem, and we are grateful for him taking over that duty. And so this will be fun. But I've been watching his leadership and learning from him, so I'm ready and prepared, and we'll run from that standpoint as we get started today. If we will, if you'll take just a moment to bow, and we're going to turn on your mic. What are you? Number 3. And if you give us a word of prayer, and then we will get started.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dear Heavenly Father, we humbly approach you this afternoon as your servant, Lord God, and we ask that you open our hearts and our minds as we hold these meetings today, Lord God. Give us the wisdom we need to make the right decisions for those we serve. We ask these things in the precious name of your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Well, we have already adopted rules, things of that nature, so I'm going to get us started, and you know, it's a privilege to open back up to my now Vice Chair Pro Tem. How should I address you while we're doing this? Should you want to be Pro Tem? We'll just call you Pro Tem, okay, as far as that. And you're going to bring to us a bill, it looks like. Bill number is SB 409. Sounds like a bill that you ought to clean up with. And LC 461260. You want to do that from here, sir?
Your pleasure, Chairman. I'm happy to do it from there or here. Whatever.
Since it will save time, I'll let you save and stay here. How about that? And you are 8. So it is in your power, sir.
Well, good afternoon and congratulations on your chairmanship, Senator Harbin. I know you're going to do a great job. You've been a great member of this committee for a long time. So I'm Larry Walker, and I'm an independent insurance agent in Perry, Georgia. In April, I will have been in business for 30 years. We sell a lot of home and auto insurance. We sell business insurance also, but this relates to homeowners insurance. In the almost 30 years I've been in business, really I've never seen a market as difficult as we've seen the last maybe 5 years, really particularly the last 3 years. I will say that the lawsuit reform that we passed last year in the legislature and the governor signed has already started making a marked improvement on not only rates but on the appetite of insurance companies. But in the last 3 or 4 years, because I was chairing this committee, I was getting calls from insurance agents across the state telling me that they were experiencing where insurance companies were using what we'll call aerial photography, aerial imagery to underwrite homeowners insurance and look at the roofs on homes and the surrounding property of the house. You know, it could be trampolines, swimming pools, that kind of thing. And with all the technology as it changes, they're using this as a customary underwriting practice, and they would notify their insured, which they have to do by statute, that they're going to if they're going to non-renew a policy. So they would notify their insured and that they're going to non-renew them for underwriting reasons. And as if the agent or the insured inquired, you know, well, your roof is discolored, or you have some missing shingles on your roof, or you have a tree growing too close to your house and the limbs are overhanging your roof, we feel like that's a hazard. You know, or just all kind of various reasons to non-renew the policy. And the frustration that I was hearing from the agents that called me, and I had experienced this some in my agency too, is there was really no, like, you know, the customer might say, well, my roof's only 2 years old or 5 years old. What are you talking about? And of course the customer can't really see their roof. And the insurance company was not required to provide them a copy of the image or the photograph, and really to explain much of anything. And so I just felt like it was an area where technology had advanced, and the consumer protection measures that we have on the books really hadn't kept up. And I felt like it was not fair to non-renew somebody's homeowner's insurance without at least showing them evidence of why you're non-renewing them, like show them the picture. And so while all this was happening, and I would go to some independent insurance agents conferences and hear other agents talk about it, I also got involved with the National Council of Insurance Legislators, and this was a topic of conversation from insurance members of that organization. A lot of them are insurance agents, not all of them, but they generally serve on their insurance committee at their state. So this was a problem they were seeing nationwide, really, or kind of a new practice. Mostly, from my understanding, mostly what they're using is either satellite imagery or fixed wing aircraft imagery. It's really not as big a practice, at least right now. They're not really using drones, but they could use drones too. So we worked at NCOIL to try to create a model, what we call model legislation, working with the industry partners, working with the insurance companies, getting input from all the stakeholders to try to give some transparency and consumer protection. In the event that you're going to be non-renewed, you should at least be provided with a copy of the picture that says there's a problem. The picture needs to be date stamped so that you're not using a 2 or 3 year old picture, because you could have, maybe that problem wasn't even there. Maybe you've already remedied the problem if it was a real old picture, and then put some. So it's got to. So I came up with this bill, and if this were to pass, the insurance company, if they take what we call an adverse underwriting decision, meaning they're going to non-renew your insurance, they're going to decline to offer you coverage, or they're going to reduce your coverage or surcharge your policy, they have to proactively then, with that non-renewal notice, because they're sending you that anyway, they've got to send with it a picture of what the problem is. And it's got to be within 9 months of the non-renewal decision, and it can't be a shorter time frame than the 60-day non-renewal statute that we extended it to 60 days last year, the non-renewal. So just to give some customer transparency and give the customer a clear idea of what the problem is, and give them a chance to address the problem, and hopefully get the company to rescind the non-renewal or the surcharge or whatever it is. So it's pretty straightforward, I think. We tried to, had a lot of people look at this, try to get the language right, try to craft a real good bill that won't make it so hard to do business in Georgia that insurance companies are going to back away from wanting to write homeowners insurance. We sure don't want that, but give the consumer an opportunity to know what the issue is and a chance to address it and keep their insurance. So that's the bill, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay, we're lighting up the board here, so we have some questions here. Merit on number 10, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of questions. I know we're all trying to keep up with technology, and I think that's the purpose of this bill, because we can't stop these technologies from happening. But we also want to make sure they are protecting, I guess, the consumer at the end of it all. So the current underwriting policies or the underwriting procedure, would using aerial type surveillance, does that comply with like underwriting, like current policies and rules?
There's no prohibition in law for them to use aerial imagery to underwrite the risk, and this does not prohibit
So none of the guidelines, it wouldn't go against any underwriting guidelines that are currently there. All right, and then my second question is there any concern about this being a Fourth Amendment, run into like a Fourth Amendment violation? Because we are surveilling people and kind of using these images in a way to make a decision about non-compliance. So is there any concern that that could run up into like a Fourth Amendment, situation?
So this is a common practice being used currently. And I'm trying to put some guardrails to say, hey, if you're gonna make an adverse decision against this customer, you've gotta provide them a copy of the picture. I don't know of any case where that's been litigated to say that's a Fourth Amendment, that using aerial imagery is a Fourth Amendment violation. This does not add to that, or I mean, I'm trying to kind of rein it in a little bit
Right.
with this legislation, so I don't think that's a concern.
Okay.
But I'm no constitutional scholar. I'm not really
Yeah, we'd
even
have
a
to put our
scholar,
constitutional
period.
folks on that. So one more question, and with that, are we notifying kind of the consumer end that, yes, we are using these technologies and the insurance companies are using that technology? Because I actually think that is something that should be disclosed to
Well,
them.
Have you looked at Google Maps before? And you can look at your house, right, on
Right.
Google Maps. Did Google notify you that they're taking a picture of your house? I don't know.
They're not, but in this case, we are imposing some compliance and it could affect their insurance. So yes, anybody could pull it, but in this case, I think the insurance companies are making some decisions about how much someone will and will not pay, or if they're in compliance, and that's just my concern. Yes, anybody can pull it, but when we're talking about companies doing this that are making those type of decisions, that would be a concern.
So I guess I don't follow, Senator, exactly. So they are doing this now. That's what
Right.
I'm saying. I'm not like allowing them by this bill to do this. I'm saying this is the common practice already. Anybody, a lot of times when I send in especially a commercial risk, and say I want to insure Joe's bait and tackle shop
Right.
on 4th Street, the first thing the underwriter does is they go to Google Maps. They pull up that picture. They want to see the property. I mean, this is happening. I'm just saying if
Right, they're using it now. They're
They're-
using it anyway. They're using Google
so
Maps
this
now.
does not give them any additional rights to use what really is public imagery out there in the world. This is actually saying if you are gonna use that, then you've got to provide a copy of the picture that you're using to the customer to give them a chance to see what you're looking at and to address any kind of concerns before you non-renew their insurance.
Okay, and probably customers don't know that they're Google mapping them already. That's just it is out there. Customers might not know, like, hey, your insurance is
And I don't
going in and
mean
they're
to just,
using.
I shouldn't use a brand name, but I mean,
Well,
that's
yeah,
just what
Yeah,
I use Google
Yeah,
Maps a lot, so.
and customers might not know that insurance are doing that. So that's just my concern. Like, are we even telling people, like, hey, we
And
kind of
this
looked
is
you
to
up?
give them, this is to provide that kind of transparency and information to the customer. This is a good, helping what you're concerned with, I think.
I have no more questions.
Thank you.
It's right behind my mentor, Chairman Calzert. If I think he and I may be thinking.
You've been on the front lines of search warrants more often than I've been like, so I'll let you give
The good attorney will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think expectation of privacy comes in there, and we're not talking about the government coming in and using this type of stuff. So I don't think this would be a Fourth Amendment circumstance. There has to be a lot more involved for this to be a Fourth Amendment violation. And again, I always yield to the man with the law degree.
unreasonable. I'm a huge privacy advocate. You and I are kindred spirits on that, but Fourth Amendment applies to the government. Unreasonable search and seizure, like coming in your house without a warrant. This private action by an insurance company with a Google map could not be a constitutional violation. Might be a civil tort if plaintiff's lawyers get a hold of it quick enough, but you add a little paragraph on here, but that's not a concern.
I did, and real quick, an example of that is in years past, when there were underground marijuana grows, we would use, some government agencies would use, FLIR systems to show heat, or they would use something to measure power usage, but without articulable, probable cause. Many of those cases were thrown out because of the fact it was a violation of Fourth Amendment, so that would cover that. But, my concern, and I just want to be clear on it, if I'm 30 days away from my policy renewal and I get this cancellation, and with the appeal process being as long as it is, would they be required to keep my policy moving during the appeal process?
So that's a really good question. So until last year, they could non-renew you with only a 30-day notice.
Right.
So as you're coming up to the end of your policy, they only had to give you 30 days before the policy expiration date to say, hey, we're not going to offer you renewal. Last year, we passed a bill to move that to 60 days. So they can't non-renew you after the 60 day, within the 60 days. So this lines up with the 60-day non-renewal statute that we have on the books now. Does that?
It does, but would there be anything preventing them if it's within that 60 days?
Yes,
so-
they can't, they would have to renew your policy.
Okay, that was my thing.
They're
to
on
make-
the hook for it for another year. They would have to queue it up to non-renew it the next anniversary.
Perfect, thank you.
Senator Hodges.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem, for bringing this bill. Anything that adds or tries to calm down this insurance market is welcome, I can assure you. But I wanted to ask you about look around line 72, that paragraph. Basically, I'm going to ask you if this is what happens. Basically, they put a drone over my house, they take a look at my roof, they see that they don't like the condition of my roof. So they tell me that they're not gonna renew me, but if I will do these things to the roof, then they will renew me, okay? That's what this says, right?
Yeah, but, yes, sir.
And it says they shall, and then, so my question is, they're gonna give me a description of the steps that I, as a owner, may take to reverse their decision, and the standards that I have to adhere to. And then, would I know, is there anything here, they tell me that they will renew me if I do this, but we don't know what price they'll renew me. Say I'm at $1,000 right now, and I spend, $2,000 to do what they want me to renew me, and then they say, okay, and we're gonna renew you, but it's gonna cost you $5,000.
Well,
Is there anything in here that says if you tell me what you want me to do to fix the problem that you found in your underwriting, that I have to tell you at what price I'm gonna renew you, if you do that, if you take those steps?
well, that kind of gets into the rate filing that the insurance companies have, and so I guess as a concept of fairness, and the reason we have an insurance commissioner and they have to file, insurance companies have to file their rates, and a lot of paperwork with that. If we had identical homes, everything was exactly identical, right next door, the financial score of the customer, the condition, the age of the home, all that, the square footage, everything was identical. The rates are the rates. They can't say, okay, well, we will renew you, but we're gonna give you this crazy high rate. They don't have the flexibility to price their product that way, because they're regulated and they have the rates that they have to file with the commissioner. Now, they
Okay.
could take away some discounts if they're giving you a discount for a new roof, or, I mean, there is some flexibility, but they don't really have they can't just price it randomly like that. 'cause
So you're
it's-
telling me that I would have the right to ask at that time, when they say, we found that your roof needs repair and this is what we want you to do to it. I can ask them at that time, okay, if I do this and you renew it, what's it gonna cost me? And they have to tell me, and that they can't pull the rug out from under me later on.
If they've already filed their rates and they've already processed or gotten close to processing the renewal, they'd be able to give you the price.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You see
The-
where I'm going? I
yeah.
just hate to,
So generally, like, if an insurance company decides they need to have a rate increase,
yeah,
because of whatever, inflation, cost of construction, whatever, lost claims history on their whole book of business, and they have a 8% rate increase, that's spread, everybody gets an 8% rate increase.
I
They
get
don't
that.
give some people 2 because they like them, and
Oh.
some people 15 because, I mean, it's a filed rate. I might not be doing a very good job explaining it, but it's,
I think you're answering my question. My question basically is if you tell me to go do this to correct the situation and I go do it and spend the money to do it, I know at what price I'm gonna be able to purchase
yes, sir.
my renewal.
I think so, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Did I?
I saw it.
Feel free to jump in.
Sorry. Sorry. I found the answer to my question about timestamp, because my next question was just the accuracy of images, but I think that has been covered on 72 through 78 and 79 through 86. Timestamping and just making sure the quality of images are accurate. So,
All right. Now, I've got a question, and I think that there may need a small amendment if you look at this. If you look at lines 72 and 73, it says that the underwriting decision by the insured includes copies of the date-stepped aerial images and satellite images that's there. But then if you come down to 83 through 85, this is where submitted by the property owner. So what I see is that we've given them one, now they're gonna come back to, and it says, any aerial image or satellite image submitted by the property owner to the insurer shall be of the same resolution and quality. But the 72 through 73 does not talk about resolution or quality. So if the resolution from the insurance carrier is at a 1200 DPI and the one that the insured sends back is at a 300 DPI, if you will, it would seem like that we need to tell them to give us the resolution so that whatever we send back to them is of the same quality from that standpoint, because especially if you're using aerial type stuff, the resolution makes a difference. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Anybody with me?
I do. Discrepancy in the images.
Yep. Well, and if I'm going to give them a date, I need to say that this image, and I'm looking like, if I take satellite images and resolutions is what I would do. That way, the insured knows that this is at a 1200 or 1500 DPI, whatever the resolution is, and that when I send back to them another image, it's gonna be the same resolution. That's the only thing I see, that I could see a conflict, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. So, that's a valid point, I think. What the intent is if you do repairs or remove a tree or remedy whatever issue they are, and you need to send them documentation, a picture, showing that you fixed the problem,
Right.
they want to be able to, it can't be just so fuzzy and so
Right.
blurred out that they can't tell what you did, is what I think we're trying to get at there.
That's just the only thing I see, a little bit of a potential.
I really
issue.
don't think the insured is gonna be
Okay.
sending them aerial or satellite images.
But they made a
I
provision.
think they're gonna actually
Okay.
have somebody get up on the roof
Yep, I would
and
agree.
take a picture, but if they are gonna send them aerial images back, which I can't really fathom them doing, they have to be able to see what they are. I do think, now that you point that out, should say not same, but it might say equal or greater resolution and quality.
Something, yeah, I mean, they get their 14-year-old son to fly his drone up and take a picture of it. And he has a high-tech drone.
I think if we put equal or greater, it might address your concern.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's the only thing I would just had a
Does
question
that
for you.
Make sense, Vince? And
Okay.
I would certainly accept that, but I really think they're gonna get their digital camera. And,
And that would be done. The only thing I see is this.
They won't be fine with drones.
Yeah.
They're gonna go up there and take a picture.
That's what they should do.
Whoever does who's gonna take a picture of where it is and everything and send it to the insurance company.
Well, let's give you a microphone to speak, sir.
What they normally do, they send an adjuster out usually, and the adjuster decides whether or not it's gonna be covered or whether the roof is 30 years old or whatever. The adjuster then will tell you or put in writing what needs to be done in order for that insurance to be renewed.
Right.
And so what happens is whoever does the roof, they take an actual picture of what they did, and then it's gone back to the adjuster, and then the adjuster submits it to the insurance company.
I think you're same, or however you want to work that.
I think equal
Is
or
the only
greater
thing I
resolution.
see. I actually had a case like this, believe it or not, and he had his grandson take his drone up and take pictures of all the roofs and send them back to us, and we're going, wow, okay. So that's the only thing I see is just that might be something.
I think that makes it a lot better.
Makes it a little bit better there. All right, Senator Merritt, I see you blinking.
No, I didn't.
You're done, okay, okey-doke.
Didn't know if we need to take a motion.
Ask him how he wants to handle that as do we want to handle that as a amendment, or how do we want to do that? What's the best way, just as an amendment?
Yeah, if somebody wants to offer that, or I guess I could even offer it, but
I'll let
that'd
you
be
off.
kinda weird, wouldn't it?
Well. Okay, before we do that, okay. Do we have an emotion? We have emotions on this bill. A motion. We got one, okay. We have a motion.
Yeah, motion to pass on Senate Bill 409, LC 461260.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. Will you have a second? Second. Senator Steele? Okey-dokey. So now that we have a first and a second, a motion, any more discussion? No more discussion? We're gonna do an amendment next, okay? And the amendment would be, I see no problem with you. Got it there?
I'll offer an amendment on line 84.
Okay.
To strike the same and replace with equal or greater. So it would then read, the property owner to the insurer shall be of equal or greater resolution and quality as the aerial.
Okay. Vince, you can put that together and make that happen for us? Okay. Any other discussion on that? Motion on the amendment. Do pass. We need, you made the motion. Second, and she's gonna do our second, correct? Well, thank. And now we're gonna vote on the amendment that has been there. So, if you will, if you are in favor of the amendment proposed by Pro Tem Senator Walker, would you raise your hand? All right, they all like you, that's good. All right, that gets us to a point to where we have an amended bill. And what we're gonna do, if there's any more discussion on the bill as amended, none? Okay, so we will vote on the bill as amended. All in favor of the bill as amended, would you raise your hand? All right, okay, they do like you, so we're in good shape. So you have a bill ready to go and amended, and thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're not only have been a good chairman and a good vice chairman, you do a good job. We appreciate you. All right, all right. Our next issue to deal with is from Senator Kay Kirkpatrick. Do you want to do that from where you are? And you are number 12. Now I'm going to ask you to do something in my committees. I want you to define abbreviations, because we're going to be talking, I think, about AI. And I was in agriculture last year, and they talked about AI. And in AI in agriculture is actually artificial insemination. And I think you're not going to be talking about that in the insurance realm. So just as long as we get the terms right, we'll be good. So if you'll do that for us, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't think I used that abbreviation in the bill anywhere.
Okay.
So every place that you see artificial
gave me the whole
intelligence,
word.
that's
I
what we're
appreciate
talking
that.
about. So committee members and Mr. Chair, you probably remember, most of you were here when we passed Senate Bill 80. It's been several years ago. And that was a prior authorization bill. And I think all of you know that that's the process that insurers use to approve or deny medical treatments. And it's, that bill defined what a clinical peer is that would review things. It added transparency, timelines, and so on. Since that, like the last bill, technology has continued to advance. Prior authorization continues to be a very time-consuming process, requiring additional staff time. So technology is actually welcome to help automate and speed up the process. Artificial intelligence is a tool that should be available, and this bill allows it to be used. However, if there's an adverse determination in this bill, artificial intelligence cannot be the sole basis for a denial. So in other words, a clinical peer would need to be involved prior to an adverse determination, and their decision would prevail. The definitions are national definitions by a group called NIST, the National Institute of Standards and something. And so I think this is pretty straightforward, and it does not prevent the use of artificial intelligence. It's just make sure that there's a human look at claims before they're denied.
Okay, and as I'm reading your 25 and 26 lines, it shall not be used as a sole basis. Am I correct that basically all of the approvals will automatically go through, and only the things that are being turned down, and then they would be referred to an actual human being, correct?
They'd be subject to our current law.
Okay, okay. Senator Merritt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So yeah, I actually, I know AI is new, and I actually brought forward a piece of legislation last year to deal with AI discrimination and to make sure that AI wasn't being used in a way to discriminate against things like insurance and things of this nature. And I also have an AI commission bill. It's new technology. We're trying to reel it in and make sure it's being used responsibly. So with that, I do pivot back to protecting the consumer. And I guess my question is, or I would ask, is there something in here that we would notify the consumer that we are using AI to make the determination? I think that should be something that can be disclosed to them, because, or should be. Even now, images that are on social media, now they're putting a timestamp that, hey, or they're putting a blurb in there to say, hey, this is what's AI created. So I do think that may be something we should consider disclosing to the consumer.
We can take a look at that. The process, of course, the patient typically is not involved in the process, except that they're the patient. And
Right.
So if it's my office that's doing the prior authorization, they're communicating with the insurance company. And so the consumer's not really involved with it until such a time as the procedure, surgery, medication, whatever, is either approved or denied. In an approval, it doesn't really matter, but in the situation where there's a denial, I agree with you, the consumers need to be protected. I'm not sure where in the process they would be notified, though, so I'm not sure we need to put that in this bill, but because the negative determination is not being made by AI.
Right. Would someone be able to help us with that? Like, I think you had had help crafting the bill, would someone maybe know where we would put that in the process? Just to just to make sure we're covered here, that, hey, we are using these technologies. And again, I don't know where in the process between the provider and the consumer, that in between, where would we put that? I don't know either. But I'm assuming there are some smart people who do know where we would put that.
I think this bill just reflects kind of the current status of how artificial intelligence is being used in prior auth. I hadn't heard any concerns from anyone about how any kind of disclosure or notification would actually work. I'm sure it's in the paperwork somewhere that the patient signs with the contract with the insurance company.
And my next question, and this follows kind of my next question, because AI is being used to do the prior authorization. AI only knows, and this is kind of what my bill deals with, it only knows what the programmers have put in it. So I would just want to make sure there's nothing in there to where AI is pulling something that could be to mess with the pricing in a way that is looking at an algorithm that could be discriminatory and price it higher than like the next person. So I know these technologies are new and it's hard to cover everything it can and cannot do, but again, AI only knows what's out there.
Yeah, the pricing doesn't really enter into this. This is more medical necessity type of decisions that are being made. So I think any discrimination against anybody is that the insurance company doesn't want to pay for the procedure, and they've got a list of what they require, criteria that they put in place to make those decisions, and those can be automated, which of course does speed up the process, but we also need to be sure that the entire record has been reviewed and all the information's been looked at before a final decision is made. So that's the whole point of going back to our prior definition that we had of a clinical peer.
Right, and it's not, and you already covered AI isn't the sole,
Exactly.
isn't the sole decider here. Okay.
This really is to speed the process is what it is, because any negative implications, as I understand it, would be if you referred to a human. This is just getting approval, where if it says it meets this criteria, give a yes. And I think that's just part of our technology moving forward right now.
We know it's evolving technology. A lot of states are dealing with the same thing. There are bills in a lot of states that are, some are, have already been enacted, but it's just to protect patients and be sure that all the information is reviewed before someone decides that you can't have the treatment that's been recommended.
Yep. I think your 25 and 26 are the backstop for protection right there, that we talk to a real human being from that standpoint. I like
Exactly.
that. I think that's good. Okay. Moving at the appropriate time. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion to accept Senate Bill 444, LC 461377.
Okay. Do we have a second? We have a second from Senator Hodges. I had a moment there from that standpoint. Any other discussion? I was going to say Savannah, but I said no. It's St. Simon's. All right. Any other discussions? If there's none, okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Okay. We got our numbers there. We got that. Okay, we got one against, and everybody else is for. So we're good, and we need to announce, what is that? What's your number there? Okay, got them? 661? Okay, okay. Senator Kirkpatrick, you are ready to go to rules with artificial intelligence. Thank you so much. And with that, we will close it. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you.